Needless to say, Donatello was one of the most interesting of them all in the Renaissance, showing the world his vast and intricate sculptures that amazed not only Italy, but the world. But we aren't just here to talk about how Donatello influenced Italy and the Renaissance. No, we're here to answer the question, how did Donatello influence the world? Now before we start, let's get some information on who Donatello was. Donatello was the greatest Florentine sculptor before Michelangelo, whereas Donatello was born in 1386 and passed away later on 1466. A couple years later, Michelangelo was born in 1475. Donatello was known for his dark style artworks. Before he was even 20, he already started receiving commissions for his works. This should already give you an idea on how Donatello was starting to be recognized as an individual. Because Donatello's style came naturally, it was really hard for scientists today to understand the psychology of what Donatello was attempting to achieve. Though, there have been scientific evidence that Donatello followed the footsteps of a painter by the name of Giotto di Campandone. Considering the fact Donatello was believed to follow Giotto's path, it was also thought that Donatello also followed Giotto's goals in life as well. Donatello revolutionized his works by putting an emphasis on accurately reproducing life as it truly was, as if you can feel emotion being portrayed as you look through his work. Donatello's strikingly realistic work stood out farther than any other sculptures in Florence. Later in 1411 and 1413, Donatello created two unique masterpieces named Saint Mark and Saint John the Evangelist. Both sculptures stand out more than it should, and started being recognized and rose to fame. But Saint Mark just stood out even more. His unique stance and position with the impressive size that gave a breathtakingly heroic aura, it was something that can never be replicated. You're probably wondering, okay, he created sculptures and became a very impressive Renaissance man. So what? Well, Donatello played a role during his time by inspiring people to continue to live happily. During the 1300s, a disease known as the Black Death was brought to Europe by 12 Genoese ships. When the men on those ships finally made it to the docks, 90% of them were dead, while the others were gravely ill. The disease got its name, the Black Death, because it would cause a blackish liquid to appear when you were sick. If a person is affected with this disease, all the organs in the human body would melt, and you would bleed from every single opening of your body, from your ears, eyes, nose, even your fingertips. The disease spread even farther through Europe, killing over 50 million people. I just want to take a moment and say the Holocaust killed at least 11 million people. This event killed 50 million people, and maybe even so more. The only thing that people could do is wait until they died, because the disease just spread it by simply coughing. The Black Death era ended at 1350, lasting a total of 3 years, killing off 33% of Europe's population. When 1386 came, Donatello was born. The revival of the devilish event that occurred left people of Europe still traumatized of the disease coming back. Though, after 1408, Donatello completed his well-known work, David. There are two Davids, but the major one Europe noticed was the one of Marble David. People believe that Donatello had the capability of reaching to Brunelleschi's level of sculpting, which at the time, these two men were really great friends. Donatello's outstanding work gave curiosity to many people of Europe because he used a form of art that was rarely used, such as contrasposto, which is the Italian term for a visual art that allows the subject, or sculpture in this case, to counterpose. This enthralled many people of Europe, but it wasn't really enough for people to still overcome the effects of the Black Death. There was a huge plummet of the amount of food due to the cold weather. The hierarchy classes were out of control. It consisted of nobles who had trouble fixing their land, the revolts of peasants and urban workers, and for an unfair reasoning, people who survived the Black Death were given a higher standard of living, and worst of all, culture was fading away. All that was left was just survival of the fittest. This brings us to how Donatello influenced himself. The survival of plague hearkened in a new darker era of media. The artworks were overflowed with torturous souls, death, dying, fire, and brimstones. The dreadful traumas of this era instigated the imagination of creativity on the Renaissance, and of course, Donatello was influenced. This also influenced how he does his work, how he expresses his emotions, how he influenced his surroundings. When people saw his work, they questioned it, but at the same time they cherished it. The cultures of the arts eventually began to prosper again as the Europeans rebuilt their environment. The inspiration that Donatello created led to the foundations of new medias of art, such as the Roman type, and not just art, the world. After the Renaissance era ended around the 1700s, the people of Europe have finally came back to their standard lives. People started doubting God, but more importantly, they valued life, they valued humans, and they valued the cultural existence of what the leader Donatello left behind for the people to understand. Inevitably, the past has been forgotten and has been given to the future generation of the Renaissance artists.